Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
obeisances. Hare Krishna, Krishna Gi Mataji, Palika Mataji, Shriya Mataji, Kirti Mataji, Rupa Mataji,
Hare Krishna, Mukunda-Hari.
Hare Krishna.
Shailesh Prabhu and Kirti Mataji, Hare Krishna, Seema Mataji, Namrata Mataji, Bhavavati Mataji is there, Mukesh, Ajay Mukunda Prabhu is there, Chetna Ben, Sharad Prabhu, Devi. Nice to see all the wonderful names again. Saroj Mataji is there too, Hare Krishna. So today we need Shriya Mataji, who I can see here, and Joli Mataji. Joli Mataji, oh yeah, I can see it now. I see her now. Hare Krishna, Joli Mataji. I'm not sure if she's joined properly. Hare Krishna, Sakshi Mataji. Joli Mataji, can you hear
Hare
me?
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Joli Mataji is still trying to connect.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, you can, yeah, we can hear you now. Hare Krishna, Joli Mataji. Okay, so let me just share the screen so that Shriya Mataji and Joli Mataji can take away the reciting for us. Thank you. Let me just share. Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, ready. Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service. Text 18. Nashtaprayeshva abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nishtiki.
Translation. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Text 19. Tada rajastamo bhavaha kamalobhadayascha ye cheta eter anavedham sthitam sattve prasidati.
As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy.
Text 20. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavata bhakti yogatah bhagavata tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate.
Thus, established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association.
Text 21. Bhidyate hrudaya granthesh chidyante sarva samshayah kshiyante chasya karmani drushta evatmainashvare.
Thus, the knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master.
Text 22. Ato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim pramaya muda vasudeve bhagavati kurvantya atma prasadani.
Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self.
Text 23. Sattvam rajastama iti prakter gunaster yuktah parah purusha eka ihasya dhate sitya adaye hari vrinchi hareti samjanah shreyamsi tatra khalu sattvatanor niramsyuha.
The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness.
Text 24. Parthivaddharuno dhumas tasmad agnestrayimayah tamastu rajastasmad sattvam yad brahmadorshanam.
Firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood. And fire is still better, for by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas, but goodness, sattva, is best because by goodness one can come to realize the absolute truth.
Text 25. Bhejire munayothagare bhagavantam adhokshajam sattvam vishuddham kshemaya kalpante ye nutaniha.
Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world.
Text 26. Mumukshavo ghora rupan hitva bhutapatinnath narayana kalaha shanta bhajanti hai anusoyavah.
Those who are serious about liberation are certainly non-envious, and they respect all. Yet they reject the horrible and ghastly forms of the demigods and worship only the all-blissful forms of Lord Vishnu and his plenary portions.
Text 27. Rajastamah prakratayah samashila bhajanti vai pitrabhuta prajesadin shriyashvarya prajepsavah.
Those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance worship those in the same category, namely the forefathers, others living beings, and the demigods who are in charge of cosmic activities, for they are urged by a desire to be materially benefited with women, wealth, power, and progeny.
Text 28 to 29. Vasudeva paraveda Vasudeva paramakha Vasudeva parayoga Vasudeva parakriyah Vasudeva param jnanam Vasudeva param tapah Vasudeva paro dharmo Vasudeva paragatihi.
In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto him. He is the supreme goal of life.
Text 30. Sa evedam sasarjagare Bhagavan atma mayaya सद् असद्रूपया चासौ गुणमया गुणो विभुः.
In the beginning of the material creation, that absolute personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, in his transcendental position, created the energies of cause and effect by his own internal energy.
Text 31. Taya vilasiteshva eshu guneshu gunavaniva antah pravishta abhati vijnanena vijramti bhaha.
After creating the material substance, the Lord Vasudeva expands himself and enters into it. And although he is within the material modes of nature and appears to be one of the created beings, he is always fully enlightened in his transcendental position.
Text 32. Yatha he avahito vahanir darushva ekaswayognishu naneva bhati vishvatma bhuteshu cha tatha puman.
The Lord, a super soul, pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood. And so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second.
Text 33. Aso gunamayer bhaver bhuta sukshmendriyamabhihi swanirmiteshu nirvishto bhunkte bhuteshu tadgunan.
The super soul enters into the bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind.
Text 34. Bhavayatya esha satvena lokan vailoka bhavanah leelavataranu devatiryannaradishu.
Thus, the Lord of the universe maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men and lower animals, assuming the roles of incarnations. He performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, wonderful. Jyoti Mataji, very nicely, very dramatically, you recited the English, so nice, entertaining. And Shriya Mataji, excellent, very, very nicely recited the Sanskrit. Again, I believe you were probably reading from Sanskrit or Hindi directly. And that's why your pronunciation was so perfect. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Let me just share the presentation. Okay, devotees. So we are continuing our reading of the second chapter of the first canto. So before beginning, we'll just do the beginning prayers, because otherwise I get out of routine and I forget to do these early prayers. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashtaprayeshu abhatreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhakti bhavati naistiki krishne swadhamupagate dharma jnana dipishah kalam nashta drisham esha purana kodunadita. So Bhagavatam, as usual, we'll do the review of the chapter so far. Text 1 to 7. So the Goswami begins the reply to the wonderful questions by the sages. 8 to 15. So the Goswami explains that only bhakti is to be gained by one's prescribed work. And then 16 to 22, we went through this wonderful session, which is the stages of bhakti. And this current section, Sutta Goswami is speaking about only Krishna is to be worshipped. There's so many different methods of worship, but here it's emphasized that we must be worshipping only Krishna. So in yesterday's verse, it was said that the Supreme Lord is indirectly associated with three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the sake of creation of the material world, he takes on the qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, Shiva. And then that particular verse yesterday said that of the three, all human beings, they can derive the highest benefit from Vishnu, which is the form of the quality of goodness. So today's verse is actually a continuation of the same thing. So we just recite that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, text 24. Parthivat daruno dumas tasmad agnisrayi maya tamasastu rajas tasmat sattvam yat brahma darshanam. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Firewood is a transformation of earth, but smoke is better than the raw wood. And fire is still better, for by fire we can derive the benefits of superior knowledge through Vedic sacrifices. Similarly, passion, rajas, is better than ignorance, tamas. But goodness, sattva, is best because by goodness one can come to realize the absolute truth. So purport, I've got 2 pages of purport, so I can just invite anybody to just unmute and recite. Yes, Shukra Mataji, please go. Shukra Mataji can go, yes.
I'll do the next one.
And Palika Mataji can do the next one, sure.
Hare Krishna. As explained above, one can get release from the conditioned life of material existence by devotional service to the personality of Godhead. It is further comprehended herein that one has to rise to the platform of the mode of goodness, Shwata, so that one can be eligible for the devotional service of the Lord. But if there are impediments on the progressive path, anyone, even from the platform of Tamash, can gradually rise to the Shatta platform by the expert direction of the spiritual master. Sincere candidate must therefore approach an expert spiritual master for such a progressive march, and the bona fide expert spiritual master is competent to direct a disciple from any stage of life, Tamash, Rajas, or Shatta. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Palika Mataji, you can take the second section.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. It is a mistake, therefore, to consider that worship of any quality or any form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally beneficial, except Vishnu. All separated forms are manifested under the condition of material energy, and therefore the forms of material energy cannot help anyone to rise to the platform of Sattva, which alone can liberate a person from the material bondage. The uncivilized state of life, or the life of the lower animals, is controlled by the mode of tamas. The civilized life of men, with the passion for various types of material benefits, this is the stage of rajas. The Rajas stage of life gives a slight clue to the realization of absolute truth in the forms of fine sentiments in philosophy, art, and culture with moral and ethical principles. But mode of sattvas is a still higher stage of material quality, which is actually helps one in realizing the absolute truth. In other words, there is a qualitative difference between the different kinds of worshipping methods, as well as the respective results derived from the predominating deities, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Hara. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Palka Mataji. Thank you. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Mitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Shveta Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada ki jai. So as usual, we'll just dive into the purport and just share the nectar that Sri Prabhupada is so nicely given us. Prabhupada begins with a sentence saying, as explained above, one can get release from the conditioned life of material existence by devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So 1 to 16, which is talking about as explained above. So this particular section, 16 to around 2021, this is what Prabhupada is referring to as explained above. Because this section speaks about how one can begin and how one can intensify one's devotional service. So 1 to 16 spoke about how rendering service to devotees gives affinity to hear Krishna Katha. Anybody remember particularly what kind of devotee was mentioned in this verse? Shushushu Sadhanashya Vasudeva Katharuchi. That what was the definition of the type of devotee? One who is completely free from vice. So pure devotee, one who has no vice. So by rendering service to such devotees, we get the affinity to hear. So this everything begins from hearing, right? Until this stage, we are not even interested in hearing. We know we meet so many people within our friends and family circles, and we invite them to come to sanghas, come to the programs, come and join chat programs, but there's just no interest. So one has to create the interest, have the affinity to hear Krishna Katha. And that begins by association and service of pure devotees. And then next stage is that by hearing, Krishna cleanses the heart of the hearer. This particular verse is Shrunvatam Sakatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana. So it cleanses the heart of the hearer. Because the message of Krishna, it is said in this verse, something like this message is virtues when properly heard and chanted. And next, the very, very famous verse about regular Bhagavad Seva. Bhagavad Seva destroys anarthas and bhakti becomes steady. So Bhagavad Seva, this verse we did last week actually, 18, we spoke about two types of Bhagavatas. What are the two types of Bhagavatas, anybody?
Book and person.
Yes, well,
One
yes.
person.
Book Bhagavata and the person Bhagavata. So by rendering service to those, which means studying the book and actually serving the devotees, then our anarthas are destroyed and the bhakti becomes steady. Then the next verse, effects of the lower modes disappear when one becomes happy. So this is tada rajastamo bhava, kama lobha adayaschaya. So the effects of kama lobha, this disappear when the bhakti becomes steady. And then 20 talks about one gets positive scientific knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Very powerful. So by this process from 16 to 19, if we do that process properly, and of course with a little bit of mercy from the Lord and devotees, we get to this point where we no longer question anything, because we now by this stage we have knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Not just ordinary knowledge, not just here I think I understand. No, positive scientific knowledge. When we have positive scientific knowledge, we are armed. We are armed to defeat any argument from Mayavadis or from non-believers, because we have scientifically understood this. We can defeat the argument. You know, sentimental understanding is one thing, which is also, there's some value to that, of course, when one needs that. But to scientifically understand means that we are so firm in our belief, and we have the answers to any questions that people may have, or any doubts that people may have. So this is the state of Prabhupada, as explained about, we can get released from a conditioned life. And here in the 220, he says, liberation from all material association. So very simple, but profound process that Prabhupada gives us in these 4 or 5 verses, 5 verses. And personally, I use them a lot in preaching, whether it's preaching in somebody's home, or whether it's preaching, giving a class in a temple room, or whether it's giving a class, a session when somebody's passed away. You can use all these verses very, very powerfully. And the last verse, 220, says, Evam prasanna manaso, Bhagavata bhakti yogataha, Bhagavat tattva vijnanam, mukta sangasya jayate. That's established in a mode of unalloyed goodness. This is the point, unalloyed goodness, not just material goodness, but goodness which is not contaminated by even a tinge of passion or ignorance. What happens to that person? The man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service. So goodness itself is not good enough. We see many people actually. Some people say, very, very common thing people say is Hinduism is the way of life. As long as you're a good person, you're a good Hindu. So that's fair enough. Yes, that's one can say that's true. But then you need to move beyond this stage of goodness. Just being a good person is probably going to give you a nice birth next time around, but that's all. And that's not what we want. Once we have understood, once we have got this scientific knowledge, positive scientific knowledge about the Supreme Lord, we don't want to stay in this world. We want to go and stay with the Lord. because we have the knowledge. So being just in goodness is not good enough. So by devotional service, we then gain the fine knowledge, and we are liberated from all material association. It's a very, very powerful section of Bhagavatam here. Prabhupada continues, it is further comprehended herein that one has to rise to the platform of the mode of goodness, sattva, so that one can be eligible for the devotional service of the Lord. So again, very simple. Although we may all, talking about myself, when I first started to take the devotional service, or at least try to take the devotional service, I was pretty much in the mode of passion and ignorance, quite heavily, I would say. So yes, in the beginning, we may all have that tendency because we're all coming from different backgrounds, different habits, different association, karmic association. But the point being that once we come and we understand what the destination is, then very quickly, as long as we are sincere, the other habits will drop away, and we will be established in the mode of goodness. Mind you, this is still the material mode of goodness. So in this mode, there is still some contamination of passion and ignorance. But having said all that, there may be some contamination of the other lower modes, but it's only in the mode of goodness that we're able to at least see further and take steps from there. It is like a platform. Unless you're on that platform, if we remain in passion and ignorance, we will not be able to even come to understand it, let alone follow it. So yes, one needs to be at least working towards coming to the mode of goodness. And Srila Prabhupada has given us this wonderful platform, ISKCON, the whole society for ISKCON. Prabhupada has designed the whole society in such a way that anybody who comes and takes it seriously is able to, just by following the simple principles that everybody's doing. The life of a devotee in ISKCON is wake up early, first of all, go to sleep early, wake up early, chant the name of the Lord, connect, if you go to the temple if you can, but if you can't, at least nowadays with modern technology, connect, listen to the morning class. Every day in the morning, we must listen to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada has set this up. Morning class Bhagavatam, evening class Bhagavad Gita. In the daytime, offer whatever service you can render, depending on what time we have. Of course, people are working full time, so maybe not so much at this stage, but geared towards doing more service as time goes. And by practicing this kind of life, automatically we don't have to do anything extraordinary. Just by following what Prabhupada has prescribed, it is perfect. One will automatically, you will be pulled along. It's like I always mention, it's like being in the rush hour train at a Mumbai station, or on a platform rather. The Mumbai platform, has anybody been on a Mumbai platform, rush hour? You don't have to make the effort. You just stand in the right place and you will enter the train just by everybody else's push. And similarly,
either you fall out.
oh, yeah. So hopefully, if you want, Mumbai walas are so practiced that they know exactly where to stand and they know exactly how to hold their body. It was just, but yeah, coming out, unless you know where you're coming out and you place yourself in the right place, you might be pushed out in the wrong station. But that, again, everything comes by experience. But here, similarly, we need to just be in association. We have to be in this on this boat. And we'll speak about the boat a little while later. But as long as you remain on the boat, there is no doubt that we will make progress. Sincerity is needed to remain there, and of course, we also need the mercy. So in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, who knows the title of the 14th chapter?
3 modes of material nature.
Yes, Rupa Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Rupa Mataji, I just wonder, Mata, we haven't seen you on this sessions recently. Is it you've been away?
Yes, I was in India for 1.5 months.
Okay, yes. Welcome back.
Thank you, Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So 14th chapter, which is whole chapter covers the mode of goodness, and this particular verse is talking about these modes. So here in the 14th chapter, the 2 verses explaining the situation of the material world. So 14.5, Sattvam Rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhava nibatnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Material nature consists of 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, almighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. So here Prabhupada is calling Arjuna Mahabaho, strong, mighty armed. So the meaning behind that being that the soul, because the material energy is so powerful, it is, after all, it is Krishna's energy. It is so powerful that it doesn't matter how strong a soul may be. When he comes in the material nature, he is absolutely, definitely covered by these modes, conditioned by these modes. And then the next verse says, Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakam anamayam sukha sangena bandhanti gnana sangena chanaga. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. So you see, here Prabhupada is saying, yes, we need to be in this mode, because once you're there, you will be naturally happy, and knowledge will come, because our mind is not contaminated with the other modes. So just again, we've done these modes when we were doing the Bhagavad Gita, but just as a refresher, the 3 modes of material nature. First one is tamagun. The lowest mode is tamagun, mode of ignorance. And the symptoms in this mode are madness, laziness, sleep, intoxication. So you can see that we want to be far, far away from these modes. Rajaguna, mode of passion, unlimited desires. People in Rajaguna are passionate, always after something. They are always engaged in fruitive activity. Always, I want to gain this, I want to attain this, I want to do this, let me work hard so I can get this. Attraction between men and women, again, they're passionate in all senses. So this is Rajaguna. Then Sattva Guna, mode of goodness. As we just read in the previous slide, knowledge is there, free from sins, because you're now moved away from the lower modes, and by moving away from the lower modes, and again practicing what Prabhupada has laid down, following the 4 regulative principles. Simply by following the 4 regulative principles, we are remaining sinless. And in the mode of goodness, one is conditioned by the sense of happiness. So in the purport of 4.6, okay, I can see the time is running away, so I will skip the purport. There's quite a few things. Okay, now let's read this. Again, emphasizes about the modes. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than others. So here, see, even the mode of goodness is binding, because we can get pride even in the mode of goodness, because, oh, I'm better than so and so. But we get that a lot, actually. You know, we get some devotees, well, quite a few devotees, because they are following and because they're able to give up the meat eating and do all that. They feel they're superior. And then what they do, they look down upon their friends and family who can't do it. And again, so that is pride. That is not really good. So in this way, he becomes conditioned. So conditioning like that. The best examples are the scientists and philosophers. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This sense of advancement, this sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life makes them bound by the modes of goodness of material nature. So see, goodness is also binding. As such, they are attracted towards working in the mode of goodness. And as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation. or of being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But due to the illusion of material energy, one thinks that sort of life is pleasant. It is pleasant, rather. So the Sripad Sankaracharya says, doesn't it? This is the kind of people. We are all in this situation where just because we are attached to a particular mode, whether it's goodness or passion or ignorance, we just feel that this is what we want to do. We want to carry on doing it, and the result is, Sripad Sankaracharya says, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. Iha sansare bahudustare kripaya pahi murare. So he says, this is the cycle. Punarapi jananam, birth again and again. Punarapi maranam, dying again and again. Punarapi janani jatare shayanam, lying in some mother's belly, janani. Punarapi. So again and again, we keep doing all this. Prabhupada then says, but if there are impediments on the progressive path, anyone, even from the platform of tamas, can gradually rise to the sattva platform by the expert direction of the spiritual master. So you see, devotees, no disqualification anywhere. Whether we are in the mode of passion or ignorance, doesn't disqualify anybody. If we start to follow the process by the mercy of devotees, we will make progress. And this is explained by Srila Prabhupada. And this is actually, where is it? It's in one of the purpose. I took it. I forgot where I took it. When one wants to cross the large ocean, it requires a strong boat. It is said that this human form of life is a good boat by which one can cross the ocean of nations. In the human form of life, one can obtain the guidance of a good navigator, the spiritual master. One also gets a favorable wind by the mercy of Krishna. And that wind is the instruction of Krishna, or the Shastra. The spiritual master knows well how to adjust the sails to catch the winds favorably and steer the boat to its destination. If, however, one does not take advantage of this opportunity, one wastes the human form of life. Wasting time and life in this way is the same as committing suicide. So Lord Brahma, similarly, because it talks about the boat, Prabhupada has created this boat of ISKCON, and we need to be on this boat. But this boat, it reminded me of a beautiful verse in the 10th canto. This is part of Lord Brahma's prayers to Lord Krishna. He talked taking shelter of the boat again. And this is 10:14:58. Anybody know this verse? Very, very nice verse. Samashritaya padapallava plavam mahatpadam punya yasho murare bhavam vatsa padam param padam 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 yat vipadam natesham. You will hear Prabhupada quote this last line especially. Padam padam yat vipadam natesham. Very nice recitation. For those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is a shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon. The ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. Their goal is Parampadam, Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. Such a powerful verse. So we are here, and for us, there's danger at every step. Whether we're talking about danger when we're going down the street, we could be hit by the bus at any time. Whether we're talking about all kinds of diseases and pandemics coming and going, and all sorts of dangers. This is what we're living in. We're living in a place which is full of flying daggers all the time. But for a person who's accepted the boat, Pata Pallava Plavam. Pata Pallava means lotus feet. Pallava means lotus flower, Pada means feet, and Plavam means the boat. Of who? Nobody other than the Mahat Padam Punya Yasho Murare. So once you've taken the shelter of the Supreme Lord, then our destination is Vaikuntha. See, Vaikuntha, Vai means without. Kunta means miseries or dangers. This place is Kunta. Material world is known as Kunta, full of miseries, full of disturbances. But Vaikuntha means a place which is without these miseries. So this whole material ocean, he says, he's saying Bhavasagar. So Bhavasagar means this cycle of birth and death is huge. We're finding it so. It takes us millions of lifetimes to cross that ocean. But just by taking the shelter of the boat of Lord Krishna or Vishnu, for us, that this whole Mahasagar, Bhavasagar, is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. So we can simply hop over it. Then this is also confirmed by Lord Krishna when he's speaking to Uddhava in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Kaivalyam satvikam jnanam rajo vaikalpikam chayat prakritim tamasam jnanam man nishtam nirguna svitam. Absolute knowledge is in the mode of goodness. Knowledge based on duality is in the mode of passion. And foolish materialistic knowledge is in the mode of ignorance. Knowledge based upon me, however, is understood to be transcendental. So beyond the modes of nature. The Lord clearly explains that the spiritual knowledge of his supreme personality is transcendental to ordinary religious knowledge in the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one understands the existence of a higher spiritual nature within all things. In the mode of passion, one acquires scientific knowledge of the material body. And in the mode of ignorance, one fixes one's mind on the sense objects without higher awareness, perceiving things as a small child or a retarded person. So complete ignorance there. Prabhupada then says, it is a mistake, therefore, to consider that worship of any quality or form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally beneficial. So many people say, you will see very, very popular kathakars. They will say, just to remain popular to the masses, they don't want to make themselves unpopular to anybody. So to appease everybody, they will say, you can worship whoever you like, doesn't matter. It's the same destination. How many times have you heard that? But here, Prabhupada disagrees. Krishna confirms this in 925. So consider any quality or any form. So, we are all forms of the Lord. We are all part and parcel of the Lord. The demigods are also part and parcel of the Lord. So 925, famous verse, anybody? Just before the Patram push from verse, talking about the demigod worship. Yanti deva vrita devan, prittam yanti prittavata, bhutani yanti bhutejya, yanti madhyaji nopima. Those who worship the demigods will take birth amongst demigods. See, different destinations here. Those who worship their ancestors go to their ancestors. Those who worship gods and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. So it is so absurd for people to say that doesn't matter who you worship, the destination is the same. It's like, it doesn't matter, you buy a ticket for Paris, but you will reach New York. It's that absurd. It's just absolutely no way. You need to do the right practice to reach the right destination. And as I was saying, Prabhupada has created this wonderful vehicle of ISKCON for us to at least get to the mode of goodness and then use that as a launching pad to launch forward and go into pure goodness. So devotees, I will stop here and invite any questions, comments, or corrections, etc. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mukunda-Hari, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisance. Just a small question from the slide, it says that transcendental knowledge is in mode of goodness. Transcendental knowledge is beyond, it should be beyond mode of goodness.
Yes, certainly. So the thing is, well, I think what that particular part is emphasizing is that unless you're in the mode of goodness, you will not be able to perceive it. Because for you to even know that transcendental knowledge, you need to be in the mode of goodness.
Okay,
But you're right, yes, transcendental means beyond the modes anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for pointing it out. Thank you, Krishna. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Sorry.
Hare
Go
Krishna, Prabhuji.
I just wanted to know, you mentioned that every day morning there is a class, Bhagavatam class and Gita class evening. So is there a link to go? I mean,
Yes, of course. The programs are broadcast every day on Manna Media. So I will put the link on here actually. Just give me a second. I'll put on
The Mayapur TV will take.
Mayapur TV also you can get it on. Yeah, you go to Mayapur TV and go to the Manna site. Then you will get it. But you can directly go to this site and you can get it from there as well. Manna Media. Manna Media is our local Manna's website. So there you can also see the schedule of who's going to speak tomorrow or a few days. So that way you get a bit more information there. But let me just put it on the thing here. So it's http:// Media.
okay. So that is Mayapur TV is in maintained Indian time or here?
No, Mayapur TV will, I'm not sure what time they mentioned, but if you for example, at 7:30, every day at 7:30, the class is supposed to, usually the kirtan is going on and class will start at around 7:35, 7:40. But you can log in at 7:30 and start listening. So that's every morning. And then every evening, class is just after the evening aarti. So by 7:25, 7:30.
I think they made the Bhagavad Gita 6 o'clock.
Is it changed? Is it? Oh,
Change.
okay.
Yeah, change.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Thank you.
Fair
Hare
enough,
Krishna.
yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you for
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mukunda-Hari, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Vani Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
You also
Prabhuji.
haven't seen for a long time, Krishna Vani Mataji. Long time no see.
Yeah, my work times change now. So at least I can.
Very good. Krishna Vani Mataji. Yes, thank you.
Prabhu, in the class you mentioned that, you have to come up on the standard of Satogun. Then you will reach to Krishna, or you can be in any mode, and then you also be able to reach Krishna. Can you please clarify?
Yes. So the point there Prabhupada was making in the purport is that doesn't matter which mode you're in, if you take the advantage of this human body and take the devotional service, especially take the instructions of spiritual master, and then that's when he gave that example of the boat with the favor of the strong boat, which means the human body is human birth is a strong boat that we already have, but we are not utilizing it. But if we utilize it properly by taking guidance of the spiritual master, who becomes the captain of the boat, he knows how to utilize the sails to catch the wind properly. And the wind is knowledge of Krishna through Shastras. So by this combination, doesn't matter which mode you're in, you will gradually make progress, first of all, from the lower modes to the higher modes, and be reaching the mode of goodness. And then once you go in the mode of goodness, then you can launch yourself into pure goodness.
Yes, I thought, we have to get up to the, the mode of goodness. We have to try to reach to the mode of goodness.
Exactly, yes. But the point Prabhupada was making was that you don't have to wait till you get to mode of goodness. And I gave my own example. When I started, I was very much in the lower modes. But by keeping this, if I said to myself, okay, let me actually give up whatever I'm doing, let me become a good person before I go to the temple, that probably would have never happened. But and look at all the devotees that Prabhupada met in New York, right? They were all, taking drugs, they were, smoking, they were, living illicit lives. But Prabhupada welcomed them, and they changed by association. So this is the point Prabhupada is making, that yes, don't worry, don't worry about your mode. Everybody has got all these bad modes, but once you come, then you will, and you lend yourself to the process sincerely. Then you are sure to make progress.
Means still we have to strive for.
Of course, we have to be sincere. That's the main point. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Kajal.
Some of my part of my questions answers was covered in the last question. So if by any chance we are blessed to do some seva or some good karma and we function from a mode of goodness, but then you get ego and that kind of feeling that you've done something good. So how can you stop that, and how can you move from mode of goodness to the higher step, one step higher, where you don't accumulate good karma, because that's the ultimate thing, where we don't want to accumulate good karma to come back. So how do you do that? What is the answer, please?
Yeah, good question. Is this Kajal from Warsaw, Kajal?
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, I was trying to figure out, because I didn't want to say that unless it was some other Kajal.
No, it's me.
Oh, welcome, Kajal. Nice to have you on the call.
Thank you.
So, yes, Kajal, the whole point there is, yes, you're quite right. And it's a very, very common problem, because we are all conditioned with this false ego. But again, with practice, one has to get to a situation where whatever we are doing, whatever we're able to succeed in life, we have to attribute that to Krishna. Idam Krishnaya Namama. That is the philosophy. So as long as we say, okay, I'm not doing this, it's Krishna has given me the ability to do this. So give the credit to Krishna, give the credit to Krishna, and give the credit to our superiors. So somebody's given us some service, so give the credit to him. Whatever good that I'm able to do, I give the credit to my spiritual master, because of his blessings only I'm able to do this. So like this, initially that may even be artificial, but as time goes, one will be able to live in that mode. And once you're in that situation where you actually genuinely do not take any credit, then of course those feelings will not happen, and we will not be bound by those actions.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Kajal. Thank you, Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji,
yes.
Coming back to that, when you do anything that's pleasing to the Lord as well as to you and your community, you naturally develop a feel-good factor, don't you? I mean, is that taking credit?
Yes, so there's a subtle difference. Being pleased because you've done some service and being pleased that you were able to do it is one thing. But the danger is that unless we're careful, it'll slide into the ego side of things, right? Yeah. So this is why it's better. You can feel good that I'm able to do this service. Krishna, thank you so much for allowing me to do this service, and please let me do it to the best of my ability. And whatever good comes out of it is because of you and my spiritual master. Any mistakes that happen, it's all my fault. Please teach me how to do it better next time. And then, this way is completely trying to remain in that situation where we are not, and we know for sure as devotees, we know that there's nothing. What can we do? We have zero ability. Actually, we have zero ability. The fact that we're able to just come and speak, we say mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim. Without the Lord's mercy, without the mercy of the spiritual master, you can't even speak. Right? So like that, we can just give credit all the time.
So you see, really practice, isn't it? Because we come from that back.
Yes.
Yes, it's hard. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Definitely practice. Yes. Thank you so much. There's a message from iPhone. Why is Bhagavatam recommended for morning and Gita for evening? Why not the other way around? Okay, is that Surbi Mataji? I'm not sure who that was, but right. Why not before? Prabhupada. Yes, so Prabhupada's situation was, this right from the beginning. Every day in the morning, we hear the Bhagavatam class, in the evening, Bhagavad Gita class. Why is he actually decided for it to be that way? I am not quite sure. Whatever I say will be speculation. One thing I can say for myself, and this is, again, it's not speculating, it's just how I feel myself. I feel that in the morning, I am a lot more receptive because nothing's happened the day, all the passionate things of the day haven't happened yet. So it's first thing in the morning, my mind is fresh. Bhagavatam is quite deep, as we know. Bhagavatam is a lot deeper than Bhagavad Gita. So my own reading is that in the morning, it's easier for us to sit and assimilate Bhagavatam, the deep subject of Bhagavatam. Whereas in the evening, Bhagavad Gita, and I'm not denigrating or trying to lighten the Bhagavad Gita at all, but Bhagavad Gita is a little bit easier for us to assimilate and understand. So maybe Prabhupada left it like that. People in the evening will, especially in the early days, devotees were out all day long, book distribution. Devotees will be out 10, 11, 12 hours a day, out in the cold, out in the rain, out in the sun, distributing books. So imagine when they're coming back, their mind is not that alert. So Bhagavad Gita is a little bit easier than that. Again, speculation, but I'll find it myself like that. Gertha Mataji says, thank you for the class. Can you please elaborate on what is devotional service? And if we are in full-time job, what should our consciousness be, as it is only considered devotional service if we are temple? Nice question, Gertha Mataji, thank you so much. So see, devotional service, right? You can start from the topmost level of devotional service is actually living in the temple and doing everything for Krishna, physically, mentally. That's the topmost level. But like everything else, there is grades, depending on our own life situation. And you mentioned work, Gertha Mataji. So if you're working, we will not be able to do physical devotional service to the Lord. But chanting our rounds is also devotional service. Thinking about Krishna is devotional service. Reading is devotional service. Listening to the classes is devotional service. So devotional service is a wide spectrum of things. But included in that also is some regular physical service that we must do. There are two reasons why we must do that. Number one, it breeds humility. By doing some menial service at the temple, even sweeping the floors, washing the dishes, whatever, that breeds humility. And number two, by being there and doing that service, we get a chance to associate with like-minded people. And both those things are impetus for our success in devotional service. So for that reason, this actual service is important, but as you mentioned, it's not just that. Devotional service includes everything that we do for Krishna. Reading, hearing, chanting, cooking, very, very powerful in devotional service, as long as we're cooking for Krishna, not just cooking for ourselves. Offering our bhoga to Krishna, that's powerful devotional service. Honoring the prasadam also is powerful devotional service, as long as we're doing it all in the right mood. So devotional service is endless. Just if you do nothing else, if you're sitting in a meeting, the meeting tends to be, I've sat through many, many boring meetings in my life in business. So if there's something going on where somebody's just going on and on and on about something, you can just half switch off and think about Krishna. Think about a particular verse, start reciting that verse in your mind. That's devotional service. So devotional service is endless. I hope that answers the question, Gertha Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Gertha Mataji. Okay, recite and Bhagavatam verses. Okay, so this is from Santosh Mataji, inviting everybody on Sunday. Is it on Sunday mornings? No, Monday to Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. you can contact Santosh Mataji for the link to recite the verses. Thank you so much, Santosh Mataji. A few more questions here. Amrita Prabhu says, Bhagavad Gita in the morning, Ramayana in the afternoon, and Bhagavatam in the evening. Okay, so yes, I also think I've also heard him say that. But we're just referring to Prabhupada's system that he said. This was from Parthasarthi Prabhu. If I remember correctly, Amrita Prabhu says that we start our day understanding that we are souls. Okay, yes. So his angle was that. His angle was that we must wake up in the morning and first have realization of who we are. And that, of course, is Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. I'm not this body, I am the soul. So from that point of view, yes, that he gave that sequence. But we follow all the temples in the world, all the ISKCON temples follow the Bhagavatam in the morning and Bhagavad Gita in the evening.
I think one of the Puranas, Prabhuji says that it does tongue in cheek. I don't remember the actual quote, but it says one should associate with thieves in the morning, with women in the afternoon, and liquor in the evening. And it's actually a fun reference back to the thief being Krishna, Bhagavatam. As Ramayana, I think, is the Sita Mata. Women, and I can't remember what the evening one is. It's actually from the Puranas, the references to what the order is, and I think Srila Prabhupada has adopted that practice from one of the Puranas. I can't remember the reference, so sorry, Prabhu.
Yeah, no problem. Also, I can't remember the last one, but you're right. That's there in the Shastra. Absolutely. Okay, devotees, is almost 10 to 9. We will call it a day. Thank you so much once again for joining. Vancha kalpatarubheshu kripa sindhubheshu
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna, Mukunda-Hari.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for lovely class.
Hare Bol, everybody.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you for the lovely class. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the class.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mukunda-Hari, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
I just wanted to say, I think there's just wanted to have a more one-to-one conversation with you. I think there's quite a lot of confusion in this group. I think with respect to the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, where the goodness being, they think in karma and everything else. It might be worth just doing a refresher that all these modes are still in karma kanda, and you still have karmic reactions. You need to get to Suddha Sattva, and I don't think people really caught on to that yet. So it's because I think I wasn't part of the Gita chat, but I assumed it would have all been covered then. But there's still quite a lot of confusion between the devotees with respect to karmic reactions, and they think goodness, if you're in the mode of goodness, that's it, that you've reached the utopia. But actually that's still, it might be worth you doing on your next session, doing a little bit of a recap on that, because that's such a basic platform from which you've got to understand. I mean, if that level of understanding is still confusing, then they're going to find it more and more difficult as we carry on with the Bhagavatam, because it gets deeper and more philosophical in places. So,
sure, I think you're right. I think what happened was this: that I think a lot of the members were there during the Bhagavad Gita, so we did Bhagavad Gita covers the 3 modes in a lot of depth. The 14th chapter, 17th.
Yeah, exactly. Which is I'm surprised that still confusion point.
Yeah, my feeling is some of them have joined more recently, perhaps, because I know that when we started the Bhagavatam, the numbers suddenly increased a bit. So there are some new members who joined without when you studied the Bhagavad Gita. That may be the reason. But yes, so yes, you're right. I'll do my best. Whenever, of course, the opportunity must be there, because I don't. I went away from the subject of the day. But any opportunity I get, I will definitely try and sort of revise that.
Thank you. It's a wonderful class again. Sorry for interjecting again.
No, absolutely. You're always welcome. Your comments are always welcome. Thank you so much.
I'm learning a lot from your mood, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you for your encouragement. Hare Krishna. Okay, devotees. We'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Umirabhen, you are muted if you are speaking.
Very happy to see you.
Yes, Umirabhen. So we both.
Yeah,
getting better. Haji Udra story but I think better. Pavani is maybe not as good as me. She is still a little bit weak. But hopefully baby will better thing yes.
થાક લાગતો હશે.
થાક બહુ લાગે છે. Exactly. Yeah. Everything is.
મહિનો લાગે થાક જતા.
એવું લાગે છે. So, but at least we didn't get a really bad one. That's a good thing.
તો કે વેક્સિન મળી ગયા હતા ને બૂસ્ટર પર મળી ગયું ને.
Yeah. Because of that. I think because of that.
મને કાલે સેકન્ડ બૂસ્ટર લેવા ગઈ હતી.
Oh, nice. Okay. મને નથી આવ્યું પછી. Yeah.
ને 5.5 મહિના થવા આવ્યા મને ઇસ્કોટ ફાર્મસીમાં.
Oh, that's good. That's very good. That gives even more protection.
ભલે તો હરે કૃષ્ણ.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.